That means anybody who sold a property and used a realtor that happened to be with KW or with some other major brands, and across certain MLSs, Utah Real Estate is one of them, they could file to be part of that class action. They might get dollars back, because who's going to get that? It's going to be the attorneys, I promise you. But that's another piece. At this point, there are actually some talking points. We'll send those out. It's not part of our slideshow, but I'll send out some copies of what KW's response is. This suit is by no means settled. We haven't even gone down that path, and it could get really ugly, and it could change the way we do business. So I want to talk a little bit about how you get paid as a realtor. How many here have sold homes as a buyer's agent? And every hand should go up, or you're working that way. How many of you, do you ever use the words, and you don't raise your hand, please. If you ever said,
he doesn't want to know.
Yeah, I work for free. Because you don't. You're actually working for a commission. And that's, especially homes that are on the marketplace, we call it the multiple listing service. That's how you get paid. If the commission that's offered across the marketplace is too low, what do? Just grin and bear it and say, I'll take the $1.
Escrow instructions.
What is that?
Escrow instructions?
Well, there's not escrow instructions. There's the commission pay, there's the payment addendum clause that's on the MLS. He would say, hey, I'm just going to use a number. Let's say that I want 3 and they're offering 1. Are you okay taking 1 on a $500,000 house? Are you good with that? I'm not. I work hard just like the listed agent does. And I'm saying, hey, seller, we're paying market value for this home. We're asking you to pay the brokerage, not me, pay the brokerage an additional 2 if I'm looking for 3, or additional 4 if I'm looking for 5. All that's how you handle on the buy side, because in the we're negotiating with the seller to pay that commission. Now let's flip that story. We're on a listing meeting. What do some of you guys list? What's your listing rate? What do you list for? All right, I've heard 6. Anybody else? Anybody more than 6? Okay, because I know that there are brokerages, they specialize in 7. If you want the full package, you want us to put your house, with a grand opening, kind of I'll call it the pomp and circumstance, and it's great. We're charging you 7, and we'll offer 3 on the other side. But I want you to think about how you explain it. I'm going to share with you how I would represent a seller, and represent to a seller how I get paid and how we handle our marketing. Number 1, seller, I'm going to use my example. I charge 6. As part of that, so you owe my brokerage 6% when we close your home, when we sell your home. I want you to understand that part of my marketing expense, I'm going to offer half of that, or 3%, to a buyer's brokerage who brings me a buyer who will pay more for your house than anybody else on planet Earth. And isn't that what you want? So I'm telling you up front, I'm going to put this house in the marketplace, and I'm going to do that. Now, seller, how much are you paying the buyer's brokerage? 0. You're paying my brokerage 6. My brokerage is going to pay 3% to another brokerage. You need to present it in that way. Sometimes you may choose to call it a finder's fee. That's probably an easy way to do it. But if you're saying, oh yeah, and seller, I need you to be paying a buyer's brokerage X, you're doing it wrong, because they don't owe the buyer's brokerage anything. I do as your broker. Does that make sense? You need to present it in such a way, because that's what this lawsuit's all about. They're saying sellers are being forced to pay buyer brokerages. That's never been the case. They are paying a listing fee, period. Now the listing broker is choosing to pay a buyer's brokerage. Yeah. So what's going on is the listing agreement you've seen a change in the listing agreement probably in the last year and a half or so. And the question was, aren't listing agreements already saying that? I don't think we're doing a good job at explaining it. My fee is 6, and that's what you owe my brokerage. But I'm telling you up front how I'm going to use some of that fee to pay a selling brokerage or the buyer's brokerage. But that's my fee. And so if we have an unrepresented buyer, woohoo, I'm going to make more money. Or I may do something different. Does that answer your question, Sean? Okay. Guys, I just want you to be really clear on that. you're going to get questions, or you might get questions from your sellers or from your clients asking about this, because they're going to say, oh, well, I used you. How does that affect me? We have some answers for that. And so we'll be sending out the talking points so that you can work with them. But this is a big deal. If this goes through, this will be in multi-billions of dollars. And trust me, Novalee, how are our margins? Are we sitting like super fat? Yeah, we probably couldn't do billions. Last year, we sold $1 billion of real estate. And if you stop at, let's just say we sold $1 billion, that means, is that $300 million of commission? If I'm doing my numbers
30,
right?
30
Or was
million.
it 30 million? Excuse me, $30 million of commission. If we had to pay all of that right now, how would we do it? Can we cut that check today, Novalee? Probably not. Probably no. Let's try no.
No, we would
All right.
definitely go in the
Multiply
red.
that.
We would
We're
definitely go in the red.
Market Center 751. How many market centers are there? About 800 market centers. So if each of them had to cut a check for $30 million
Ooh.
times 8, now I'm just picking and using easy numbers. If we had to do all of it, yeah, that doesn't work. And what it really tells you is everybody was out of business. That means agents and brokerages are on their own. And now we really have the Wild West, and it will change the way we do business. Right now, we have an organized marketplace where we're putting properties out there so that people can do it. Just think of Auto Trader. Is there a marketplace out there? Yeah. People want to buy cars. Someone wants to go to Carvana. They want to, so I'm just using easy stuff. Same thing. I can sell my house by owner. Good luck with that, because I won't find the one person on planet Earth who will pay more for that house unless I put it on the marketplace. Does that kind of make sense? That's what we're using. So anyway, protect your business. You don't work for free, but I want to make sure that you're explaining to your clients how you get paid. Buyers, you need to talk to your buyer agents, talk to your buyers and say, look, I charge a commission. Now, a lot of that can be offset by what a listing brokerage will pay our brokerage if we buy it on the marketplace. But if you choose to buy with a for sale by owner, how much does a FSBO offer right off the gate? Zero, right? Unless you go in and negotiate that. You have to negotiate on that. And then if you want to really press your buyer broker agreement, you say, hey, buyer, they're only paying 2.5%. I need 3%. I need you to come in as a closing cost for that other 0.5%. It's a hard conversation, but it's also an adult conversation you have to have with your buyers. So make sure that you're the professional that you're talking about. How do I get paid? Because it used to be, I've seen ads. I work for free when I'm representing you as a buyer's agent. That's an illegal ad, and it's not true because you don't work for free. So be careful on how you do it. Anyway, hope I didn't beat you up too much, but that's kind of what we're talking about. And we'll move on to Shoni. So I'm done.
Awesome. Thanks, Dean. Don't say you work for free. Thanks, Dean.
Can we have a, is my mic on? Can you guys hear me good? Okay. So we've had 2 awkward conversations today. Is it okay if we have a third? There's somebody, and I don't want to point fingers, but we are missing a plate of cheese that was in Hunter's office. I know this is awkward, I know. Kendrick, was it you? I'm kidding, I'm joking. Jason, he's the cheese thief. No, only kidding. But who's read this book before? Raise your hand. Okay. What is the foundational principles of this book? Change happens, right? Pretty simple. And one of the realities we've been talking about for almost 1.5 years now is the adjustments that take place in our industry, right? It's a constant theme. It's nothing new. And we're going to talk about today some of these principles that are highly applicable to our space and things that we need to focus on. These are the 5 top principles that I've taken away from this book. Number 1, if you do not change, you can become extinct. Okay. Making sure that we're consistently adapting and evolving how we do business. Number 2, smell the cheese often so you know when it is getting old. Okay. Jason. Shower often. Number 3, noticing small changes early helps you adapt to the bigger changes that are to come. Number 4, old beliefs do not lead you to new cheese. And number 5, the quicker you let go of the old cheese, the sooner you find new cheese. Okay. Did you ask if it applied to relationships? Yes. It's a both, right? It's a both. So my question is, which of these principles do you think apply or are most relevant to our industry right now? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just what you feel looking at this list. Dean, you threw up a 1. Number 4. Yep. Graydon?
Yeah, there's one often, so getting old. I've found it's similar to staying top of mind. And I think that's important for me. I think staying top of mind and logging things is very valuable in your business.
Yeah. Yeah, staying top
Can you
of mind.
summarize what he said?
Yeah, I said that it's important for number 2 specifically is he applied it to staying top of mind. And it's something that needs to be refreshed consistently, especially for your clients. And here's the reality. Yeah, Brad. Kodak. It's before my time.
And they're like, my mom is just basically saying this is unfair. I put my energy into this. They owe me this cheese. This is what's supposed to happen. But in an ever-changing environment, you gotta realize that everything once was is changing. And that has everything to do with the prior customers, what customers want, their perception, even right down to how we're doing what we do, what we charge,
Yeah.
everything changes.
Which is interesting that you point out, because if you look at the S&P 500 and how many companies today are on the S&P 500 that were not on it 35, 40 years ago, that whole lineup has changed of top companies in the country, Kodak being one of them, right? And so one of the realities is the question is, what about you and your business? How many real estate agents have come into the space and then been out of it 3 to 4 or 5 years down the road? And so part of this that we're going to talk about, and I know we're a little short for time, so we're going to cruise through some of these ideas, but I want you to go back through the slides and really think about this. What I will say on that last slide is this is going to really, anything that spoke to you is probably a highlight of an area you need to focus on personally. There's no right or wrong answer, but one of those probably stood out to you, and it's probably an internal measure saying, you know what, I might need to focus on that a little bit more in my business. And we're going to talk specifically on how this relates to our space. But here's one thought is when you change what you believe, you change what you do. So before we can change the result that we actually have to change our input, our thoughts, and which changes and adjusts our approach. Okay. So I'm going to give you this 5-step process, this strategy to increase your business by 100%. Okay. Now, how many of you, as I say that, I'm going to double my business. I see Angie shaking her head, not happening. Just joking. How many of you, though, internally say, not in this market? Or how many of you have some hesitant feelings towards growth, just overall, in this kind of market environment? Okay, so I just want to highlight that. And here's what I'll adjust it is this strategy. What I promise you is it will help you to maintain the business you've already built. So if you want to maintain in this market, because in a shift, in a recession, it's all about maintaining what you've created. The growth will come afterwards, though. What I promise is it will help you to grow your business by 100% over the next 3 years. But it starts this year. So this year is about maintaining, and then you're going to step into massive growth. Sound good? So just shift that thought. There's this idea by Franklin D. Roosevelt: the only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. So if you don't think your business can grow, it won't. If you don't think you're going to close the same amount of business that you did last year, you won't. It's the opportunities are out there. You just have to adjust and adapt your approach. Grant Cardone talks about this, and he says, if you're not on target to hit your goals, don't change your goals, which is what most people do. What do you need to change? Does anybody know how he talks about this?
You have to
Don't
change your
change your
effort
goals,
and the way you
your
approach
actions.
it.
Towards your goals. Okay. And so part of this process, let's get into the strategy. So we're going to go through all five of these pillars and talk about them in depth. So the strategy is you're going to increase by 20% in each of these categories. It starts with increasing your leads and driving more traffic to your business. Now, how many of you have driven on a flat tire before? How convenient is it? Can you imagine trying to drive on 3 flat tires at once? Not fun. Bumpy ride. Most agents operate their business that way, where they have one primary way of lead generating, and they neglect the other 4 tires in their business. Okay, we've talked about this multiple times in different ways. You want to have, to bulletproof your business, 4 different ways of lead generation. So my first question to you is, how many do you have activated in your business? And what ones do you need to focus on or become a master of this year? Here's a short list. We're not going to go through all of them just for the sake of time, but obviously a lot of people need to lean more into their sphere. You need to do a better job at staying connected to your database and providing value. It's often a piece that's overlooked. We'll go through on the left side the important ones. So obviously increasing your referrals. We'll talk more about that strategy in a moment. Seminars, speaking opportunities, open houses, circle prospecting, events, investors. How many of you came to our investment class a week and a half ago? Okay. Now, we put this event on Eventbrite for our agents to register. For those who were there was some random person that came in and said, yeah, I saw about this real estate investment class. It's not an agent, just a random person, didn't know it was a class for real estate agents, and he's an active buyer. Okay, so one of those strategies we talked about is you need to focus on working with investors, especially in this market. Learn the skill set of working with investors. There's small increases in each area will geometrically grow your business and profits. So just focus on, how can I get 20% more leads into my funnel? You can even break this down per category. If I have 200 people in my sphere, what would be a 20% increase in database leads? You'd need 240, right? So the answer is, how can I get 40 more people into my sphere of influence? If I'm currently generating 10 referrals throughout the year, how can I increase that and get 12 referrals throughout the year? It's actually not a big increase, right? When you break it down that way. So 20% increase is very doable in each of those categories. Number 2 is you're focusing on increasing the effectiveness of your sales process. Now, how many of you have read the E-Myth? Okay, this book talks about how oftentimes people will work a lot in their business and they don't spend very much time working on their business. Okay. What I'll say in real estate terms is a lot of agents work a lot in the field and they forget to work on their skill sets. Okay. One of those skill sets is, how do you actually increase the effectiveness of your sales process? So part of that obviously is how you actually connect with clients. Obviously, the times you can get them in person or on Zoom is going to be so much more influential than just a simple phone call. Obviously, a phone call, if that's the best way you can get a hold of them, use that first, but try to get them in person or on Zoom, especially if they're in the warm or hot pipeline. And then also, a lot of agents are in the space where they don't have any automated online process. How are you actually capturing leads online? So if that's something you haven't done yet, if you can get a 5% increase in leads just through your online sales funnels, that should be a process that you look at implementing in your business if you don't have it yet. That allows for speed as well, giving people resources very quickly and helping them to solve their current problems in this market, which we've talked about. So this principle, the secret to growth is to create more effective and meaningful, I want you to highlight that, meaningful conversations and engagements with qualified prospects and sales. So there's a 4-step process. Number 1 is number of contacts made or captured. Number 2 is the number of meaningful conversations. Okay. When you typically hear this, you hear the number of conversations. That's it. I will tell you, it's number of meaningful conversations that matter in this market. Okay. And you have to define what that looks like for you. Number 3 is number of appointments booked or opt-ins if you're doing online lead generation. And then number 4 is number of appointments held or consults, buyer and listing consults that you've provided for clients. Okay, so you have to focus on how do you increase the number of, at the end of the day, appointments held. That is the number 1 lead measure that will cause the success you want in your business. And this is really, you can label this as the front end sales system. Okay, this is the front end. So number 3, the stage number 3 is increasing your conversion. So the previous one was increasing your effectiveness on the front end. This is increasing your conversion on the back end. So you're going to focus on a 20% increase on your conversion rates. So your 4-step process that we just went through has to lead to these 3 things. The number of new clients signing an ERS or BBA, and a little note here is how many of you know exactly what your conversion rates are? That if I sit into in a listing appointment or a buyer consult, 75% of the time or 80% of the time, they're going to sign an agreement with me. Okay, so that's first step, is know your number. Number 2 is increase number of referrals, or increasing the number of referrals through having a predictable referral system. So actually creating a system for generating referrals in your business. So don't get referrals by accident anymore. Okay, be very purposeful around your approach to getting referrals. That requires you delivering value and being intentional about asking for referrals. And the number 3 is to bulletproof your transaction. We've talked about being solution oriented. Okay, focus on creating solutions that solve the largest challenges for our consumers today. You are all professional firefighters. Okay, in business, you've solved problems. The bigger problems you solve, the more money that you'll make. Stage number 4 is increasing your transaction value. This is another way to bulletproof your business. What I'll tell you is how much of a decline in closings are we having this year in the marketplace in Utah? Or have we had over the last 12 months? Does anybody know? Depending on the county, the city, you're somewhere between 30 to 40% decrease in closed units. So really, if you look at your business, you should ask yourself the same. Am I outpacing the market or underperforming the market? Am I closing the same amount of units that I closed last year? Or am I down 30%? Am I down 50%? Am I down 70%? You have to know your own internal number first, but then say, well, I can actually make that up by volume. So this is one of those ways that you can make that up. You can actually close less transactions or the same amount of transactions this year, but make more. We're actually going to have the 3rd highest sales volume year in history this year. So can you still hit your financial goals in this crazy market? Absolutely, right? So here's some ways that you can increase your transaction value and get more money out of the transaction. So number 1, change your offer. and raise your price, having a 5% impact overall. So there's actually, each one of these, you're gonna have a 5% increase in your take home from these methods. Combined, we'll add to 20%. So 6.25, Dean kind of mentioned this, but 6.25 to 7. What kind of services would you need to provide to increase the price that you charge for your service, right? One small example of that is saying, I have 3 different packages, right? And you name what you want, but good, better, best, right? And outlining to your clients that if they go with the top tier package, this is all the level of services that they get included. Staging is included at this level. So adjusting your price, that's one option. I'm just giving you options, but you decide which one you feel like you want to really focus on and adjust. Number 2 is reducing the number of discounts that you give. I don't want you to have to raise your hand, but I've had a lot of conversations in the past where it's common for people to discount themselves in the transaction. So I'll do it for 5 or I'll do it for 4 because I've got to beat out what the other agent offered you, right? So part of that is you have to be confident in your worth, or you have to increase the value that you're providing. So part of that could be a truth where maybe you are only worth 4. Maybe that's the service that you're providing. But the question is, how can you provide a 6% service? We've got to be quick just because of time. But
Let's look at the seats nowadays. Same service, same everything, but surcharge. You're paying more because inflation and everything else is gone up. So why can't we do the same? You pay more for gasoline, and I'll drive it around a lot more. So
Yep.
guess what?
so I would say if you can do more, do it. That my philosophy is an abundant mentality where I'm going to actually give more value for the more that I'm charging. And so part of it is getting creative and saying, what additional value add can I provide that other agents are not? I actually don't want to charge more for the same service another agent will do. I actually want to provide more value to the client. So that's part of your creativeness, is you have to get on what is that value proposition that I'm going to deliver to my client. And we'll get to one of the principles that's important on the back end. BOGO, what does that stand for? Buy one, get one. Okay, how many of you do that with your clients? How many of you help them buy their own personal residence and then buy an investment at the same time? Okay, use that as a strategy. A lot of people don't know how they can use their equity to get into real estate investing. A lot of clients want financial freedom. So start educating them on how they can get into another house with 5, 10, 15% down and use the rest of their equity to purchase an investment property. Okay, run that idea by them and ask them if they've thought about investing in real estate. Number 4 is increase the median sales price. One way to do this is increase it by 5%. So go from selling 500 on average contract value to 525. Or you can enter and get the whole 20% here by just going from 500,000 purchase price to 600 on average. Okay, and I'm just going with the median prices in the county, but some of you may already be at that $1 million average contract price. So that's another way where you can increase your transaction value and be able to safeguard your income this year, even if there is a dip in the number of transactions that you have. Okay. For speed, we're going to jump through. Last one is add more value, follow up, give more, and get or receive more. So again, this is my philosophy, is that you have to bring more to the table. In this market, where we're headed, it's about how can I add more value? You've got to find ways to do that. And you put all of those strategies together, and that will be the key to your profit drivers this year. You can still make the same amount of money as you did last year, even with the market shift. You just have to shift yourself. Okay. Last piece, principles for creating raving fans. So this is one thing that I will point out, is this last one over here is in times of uncertainty or stress or economic uncertainty, global crisis, you must over communicate. Okay, that's one thing, is you have to be in heavy rapport with your clients. Graydon talked about this, top of mind. That's the key to the game right now, is you have to be top of mind, and you have to do it in a way that's valuable to the consumer, to your client. Okay, there's one other one. Right here. So just very simple. You need to provide incredible service to create clients for life. So just focus on the client experience, focus on how you can improve that and provide more value to your client than anybody else could. And that's the key to winning, those two things this year. I know that was fast. You guys catch it? Okay, sweet. We have Solo Club obviously right after this. So grab some lunch, head over there. Josh is going to bring some fire. So enjoy it and have a great week. Thank you all.